One of the things I really enjoy about diving into a new season of D2 content is that I get to dive in with a bunch of other community members and figure out which new artifact mods are meh and which are super hot fire. I really wasn't expecting the artifact mods in the final season before Lightfall to be anything other than mediocre, but goddamn was I wrong. There's a bunch of great options on the table, and I'm going to break down which ones you should 100% be taking advantage of and why. Hi, my name is Fallout, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, because I told you to. Anyway, we're very early into season 19, and even though I don't have my entire artifact finished yet, I'm friends with a few absolute grinders who have been kind enough to both share info and let me hop onto their account to get numbers for today's video. Real quick, we'll go from left to right across the artifact, maybe not covering every mod, but ones I'd like to call extra attention to. I think we can skip the entirety of column 1. We all know how anti-champion mods work by now, nothing too complicated here. I will go on the record though and say that Unstoppable Hand Cannon takes an annoyingly long time to proc. Good news though, you'll have better ways to deal with unstoppable champions, more on that later. Anyway, in column 2 we have Grenade Launcher Holster. As you'll see a little bit later, grenade launchers are hands down the flavor of season 19. However, I just want to make sure that you know that the Grenade Launcher Holster mod will only auto reload power grenade launchers, meaning if you're a new player and you've got a really schmexy wave frame grenade launcher that you were really hoping would get auto loaded in your back pocket, that ain't going to be affected by this weapon mod. Just FYI. Still though, a vital PvE artifact mod to be paired with other grenade launcher mods later on. InFlight Compensator is looking to be another move in Bungie's overall master plan of please don't hate the airborne effectiveness system as much. I'm annoyed that the in-game text doesn't flat out tell you how much AE the in-flight mod gives your guns, but no problem, we got hard data. I've got an old Black Armory fusion rifle with the now buffed perk Air Assault. When I get a kill with it in-game, a random number appears on my HUD. That's actually a display of my current AE value. The number starts at 44 in this clip because the fusion rifle's AE is 14 by default and Air Assault gives plus 30 AE for one kill. Add the two numbers together, you get 44. I put on the in-flight compensator mod on my helmet, get a fresh kill, and bam, the number's up to 59, meaning in-flight gives 15 AE to your equipped weapon at all times. Not bad. If you plan on doing any jump shooting in PvP, in-flight can help make that experience suck a tad less overall. And by the way, you can't stack them together, I tried. The game only lets you put on one copy of the mod, unfortunately. Legacy Ambush is also definitely worth a look. It buffs both the Ambush Origin trait, which you'll find on a fair amount of new season 19 weapons, and the Bray Inheritance origin trait found on updated Deepstone Crypt weapons. Ambush is a fun origin trait, kind of like a buffed up opening shot. It gives extra damage, but only in PvE, which as best as I can tell is at around 10% extra damage. Again, only on your opening engagement with the weapon. I tried seeing if Legacy Ambush would improve that extra damage on the opening shot, but as far as I could tell, that extra damage is capped, so Legacy probably only bumps up your range and handling. I'm kinda more interested in the buff to Bray Inheritance though. If you're doing any kind of build where you're doing ability spamming on your Guardian, Bray Inheritance is pretty much free real estate. Remember that Arc Grenade Titans wearing the Heart of Inmost Light are still disgusting in PvE right now, and Bray will help you get your little Titan thrust back quicker. Nice. Quick note, the mobility and Brazil armor mods on the artifact, those are really niche, but great for those moments where you're just a smidge off a nice even round number on one of your builds. I really hope Bungie gives us more stuff like that in the future. Anywho, moving on to column 3, I'm sure if you're a PvP player, you noticed immediately that hand cannon targeting is available, and as always, it only costs 1 energy. No number on the in-game mod, which again, annoying, but if I'm remembering correctly from all the times Bungie has talked about it in the past, hand cannon targeting gives an extra 10 aim assist, and while they can stack, you get diminishing returns. So 2 hand cannon targeting mods would be 15 extra aim assist for the low cost of 2 energy. Awesome. Energy Diffusion Substrate is just a mod I never thought Bungie would make. Usually we have damage resist mods that give extra protection against 1 or 2 elements together, but apparently in season 19 Bungie just went, f it, just let them resist everything. According to my good buddy Court, who you should follow on Twitter here, the DR granted by Energy Diffusion is 5%, which is info he got from a trusted source. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just take Court's word for it on that 5%. I tried to measure how much damage I was taking from enemies in PvE, but wow, is that wildly difficult to do consistently. Even when I'm standing perfectly goddamn still, dregs will literally whiff half the shots in the mag at almost point blank range, so good luck measuring the exact numbers without wanting to stick stick your head in a microwave. I tried to see if the extra DR was apparent when falling into a pool of Vex milk, but that killed me at the same rate either way, so I guess I'll just chalk that up to environmental damage not being affected by the mod. Either way, no matter how much incoming DR it gives you, it'll 100% be a viable armor mod for endgame PvE content where staying alive is usually king. Sharpshooting in column 3 is going to be a no-brainer for any situation where you're dishing out major DPS while assisted by a weapon featuring the Viced Stinger origin trait. Viced Stinger has a chance to kick back ammo directly into your mag and lets you pound away on raid bosses like Oryx for longer with LFRs before needing to reload. Yeah, Season 19 is going to be a grenade launcher meta for sure, but there's still room for LFRs, more on that later. The other origin trait beefed up by sharpshooting is the Tex Balanced Stock origin trait, which if you've noticed currently is on 0 weapons in the D2 API. And because the loot from the upcoming dungeon dropping in-game on Friday are also not yet in the public API, I would bet my entire stack of nude Rick Cactus selfies that means that the upcoming dungeon weapons are going to all be outfitted with the Tex Balanced Stock origin trait, whatever the hell that ends up being. More on that another time, I'm sure. But either way, viable for the ability at least to improve RNG odds on the Viced Stinger. Unstoppable Grenade Launcher is expensive at 7 energy, but totally worth it. Mainly because Unstoppable Hand Cannon takes a long time and kind of blows, but also because again, grenade launchers are cracked in Season 19. I promise you, we're getting there. Countercharge will charge you with light whenever you or a member of your fire team stuns a champion. Huge. I know elemental wells are heavily in fashion right now, but with countercharge paired together with high energy fire, you'd be in a situation where after anyone on your team stuns a champion, boom, instant 20% damage buff from high energy fire. It's literally free damage and it only costs 3 energy. Great deal. Advanced Scout is yet another way to hit the champions harder. According to Court and other sources, if you have Scout turned on and stun a champion, your teammates will now do an additional 10% damage for 10 seconds. As you might imagine, Scout is refreshable each time you further stun a champion, which is great. 10% damage isn't a ton, but 10 seconds is kind of a long time, and apparently Scout stacks with everything, including Well, Tether, Font of Might, whatever. Bungie loves throwing champions our way in pretty much every PvE activity these days, and it only costs 1 energy, so why the hell not? And finally, we get to the fun stuff in column 5. I wish I had actual damage numbers for passive aggressive guard, but as the same way with the energy diffusion mod, incoming DR in PvE is tricky to get hard numbers for. In other seasons, passive guard, the armor mod that makes you tankier when holding a sword, gave an extra 50% DR, so I would bet money that passive aggressive guard may hover around the same number. Either way, at the end of the day, if you're a glaive player, you're probably going to gravitate towards passive aggressive guard anyway, so enjoy. Here's where we do have hard numbers though, starting with solo operative. While you're the only member of your fire team, dish out bigger damage to all combatants. Naturally, that only applies to PvE, but this is the freest plus 15% damage buff of your life. Nothing tricky about it. If you're alone on a fire team by yourself, 15% extra damage at all times. If you've never tried to solo a dungeon before, I am telling you, Season 19 is your time to shine. And even if you're not about that solo dungeon life, maybe you want to solo a lost sector for an exotic or something. Solo operative, baby, don't leave home without it. While doing homework on Monochromatic Maestro, I stumbled across a video from a content creator named Rest Assured, whose channel I will go ahead and link down in the video description. 100% worth a watch, by the way. He explains it very clearly. Go check it out. But the TLDR is that Monochromatic Maestro will power up both your weapon damage and ability damage by 10% if the elements match. As the perk tells you, abilities of matching elements power up your weapon damage for a short period of time, and vice versa. So if you thought Heart of Inmost Light Arc Grenade Titan was strong in Season 18, slap Monochromatic Maestro with any arc weapon, might I recommend one with Jolt, and free the beast with an extra 10% damage buff back and forth between your weapon and your storm grenade. According to Rest Assured, it's a 5-second timer for either your weapon or ability that can only be procced one at a time, but apparently it's not too difficult to chain into one another when you figure out the rhythm. I don't know about you, but I plan on gluing that armor mod to my Arc Grenade Titan in the very near future. Lucent Finisher is a classic that I plan on running in a lot of GM Nightfalls when they become unlocked later in the season. Using a finisher on either a Lucent Hive or a champion will auto-generate heavy ammo for you and your fire team. Straightforward, OP, put it into your build. And finally, we arrive at what I feel is the most insane artifact mod in Season 19. I mean, I think we all knew looking at it was going to be good, but I wasn't really prepared for it being this good. Weakened Clear is the newly evolved version of the old Breach and Clear armor mod. Weakened Clear does the following. When using a grenade launcher, damaging a boss, a champion, or breaking an enemy's shield will reload your stowed weapons and weakens the target. With Weakened Clear applied, you've now given the target a 15% debuff effect, meaning that the target will now take an extra 15% damage from everything, not just from you, but your entire fire team. One tick of grenade damage on a boss, bam, 15% more damage from literally everyone. Oh, and by the way, a 15% weaken effect is literally now the exact same number as the weaken applied by the goated exotic Divinity. Ready to hear how long the debuff effect applies for? 20 seconds. Yes, if you've tagged a boss or a champion with any grenade damage at all, they are now taking 15% extra damage from everybody for 20 seconds. That's as long as a hunter tether. I was really thrown because when I tested the perk, there's a little text pop-up on your HUD that only displays a few seconds, like 7 or 8. But I tested the perk many times. Even long after that text on your HUD goes away, the debuff will continue. 20 seconds total. And by the way, if you're using a grenade launcher that applies damage repeatedly, like for example, Anarchy, every damage tick will reset the counter. Anarchy and Witherhoard are going to laugh all the way to the bank with Weakened Clear. Champions and bosses are just gonna get nuked. I already ran Kingsfall with linear fusion rifles and Witherhoard by default. This is just gonna make it so that you don't really need a divinity on certain encounters anymore. TLDR, the armor mod is completely cracked and it only costs 5 energy, which seems way too low for what it brings to the table. Quick note, if you plan on doing the new dungeon this weekend and feel like you may need a little bit of extra help, turn my channel notifications on. I plan on doing a YouTube dungeon guide on Friday if I can. Now go abuse the power on that artifact. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on stream.